It is time to test cover crops again right before we get into summer. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here today at the end of May 2021. We've been doing several things here as we have most of the trees planted on the farm, going into summer to see what we can get into the ground to help get the land ready for fall planting this year. What we're working with behind me here would be where we had our pigs last here on the farm. So as you'll see, we have the old pig area that we attempted to do some cover crops. So as we come across here, you'll see it's pretty sparse as far as the vegetation in this area. It's also a slightly smaller area than what we're going to be working in today. As we slide across, you'll see there's nothing there. We have no vegetation at all. However, this is where we had the pigs, so we do know we have a lot of urine that they put down on the ground and some of the manure that was left over from those pigs that we didn't remove from that area. Now back behind me, you'll see again what we're working with. So a couple things that we know we definitely need to do to prep this area. The first one is tilling. You can see we flattened out from where the pigs had kind of torn everything up, but I am gonna till. Now, we don't like to till the ground. However, here in Arizona, we have extremely hard ground that will not support root growth, at least not with annuals like we're dealing with here today. So we definitely need to do that first, but before we get the land tilled, we need to make sure that we mark where we have the area that we're gonna be working in today. We're gonna utilize T-posts to do that here real quick. We have the area marked out, so a couple things. You saw us flattening the dirt. Wanted to make sure we had as level a playing field as we could get. And then we also came back and watered it in. So one of the challenges that we have here in Arizona when it comes to our soil, you'll see this here, it's this very silty clay. There's a tremendous amount of mineral content in here, thus our pH is very, very high. But very high mineral content, basically rock dust, with clay is kind of what we're working with. So the challenge to this first would be breaking that up. That's why you saw us tilling. So we basically wind up with this silt. And then the next issue is biology. We're challenged here in Arizona with very, very little rain. Usually less than 10 inches is what we've been averaging here the last few years. So this soil rarely sees any water. Because there's no biology, there's really no soil structure at this point. It's the reason why we're doing this, which is to get some roots in the ground and really start holding on to the water. we watered this in, and this will give up that water very, very quickly. So the goal, obviously, with this is planting something in the ground that will get root structure into the ground to hold on to that moisture, because this doesn't do much of anything without that. Second thing is obviously going to be covering, and we're going to get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, I want to show you our test patch so we can talk a little bit about what we're going to be planting in this area today. This is where we originally had our pigs. We planted several different crops in here. For the most part, they failed. We had alfalfa, we had buckwheat, we had cowpea, we had daikon radish, we had sorghum Sudan grass, and we had corn. So we got a few ears of corn to pop up before the rabbits finally broke into here and started going to town. But one of the things that did seem to do pretty good is the Sudan grass, and that's actually what we have growing here. Looks similar to the corn, minus the thickness at the base, but actually did pretty well in certain patches. And that's one thing we noticed pretty quick, is we don't have enough ground cover here to really make sure we support the roots from these plants, which we're gonna hopefully fix today. But the sorghum Sudan grass did pretty good. We don't have any intentions of growing corn. We just had a lot of viewers suggest it. And the alfalfa, the daikon, the buckwheat, those completely failed. So we're definitely not gonna do those. However, the cowpeas did pretty good, and the sorghum Sudan grass did pretty good. And then there's one other thing that we want to plant into this area. Let's show you that now. This here is actually our test patch of sunflower seeds and cowpeas. You can see they're doing really, really well. Now this area here, in fact, I'll link the video for you where we actually planted this out. You'll get an idea of what we did as far as prep, and we're mimicking this a lot in the area that you just saw. But you can see right here just this tremendous growth in the sunflowers. They're doing better than we thought they would after just a couple weeks in the ground. And the understanding is these actually do well all summer long. And then of course the cowpeas, they're coming in pretty good as well. We're gonna go ahead and get our rows furrowed and then show you how we're gonna interdisperse these 3 seed varieties into that pasture. We have our furrow set behind us, and we have about 6 to 8 inches between each one of the rows, which is really kind of tight. But one of the things we have here is a lot of rabbit pressure. We figure everything on the outside, even though we're gonna put some temporary netting up, it doesn't do a fantastic job of keeping them out. So we wanna make sure that we have kind of some sacrificial crops on the outsides that they can get to and plant this nice and dense. In those rows, we're gonna be planting sorghum Sudan grass, and we'll be planting that fairly heavy. And then we'll also be planting the cowpeas, not quite as heavy as the Sudan grass. So alternating rows, we'll be planting these. And then for the sunflowers, I asked Lori what she wanted to do with these, and she said just kind of spread them throughout. So those will be kind of random. We'll go a little heavy on these because this is obviously a bird feed as opposed to a regular sprouting seed. So these should still sprout. That's what you saw planted over near our chicken run. But we're gonna do that more of just kind of a general disbursement before we cover up the rows. Now, as far as depth, we can't get down very far because the ground is so hard. So these are all being planted about 1 or so inches deep. Well, really probably closer to 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep in the rows. And then of course these, as far as spreading these, hard to say where they're gonna wind up being as far as depth is concerned. Actually, you know what, can I start back this way?
Doesn't matter.
now we know we have the seeds planted. The challenge now is going to be some type of nutrition for these seeds so they can take off. And we didn't do much as far as fertilization on that first test section, and it didn't do all that well. We were hoping that the pig urine and manure that had built up in that soil would be enough, and it really wasn't. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do something similar to what you saw in that area that we've got the feed for the chickens. But we don't have chickens to run across this. So instead, what we're gonna be utilizing is some broken down leftovers from our chicken brooder. These have actually been basically sitting in a pile, and it's about a 50-50 mix of pine shavings and chicken manure from our brooder. It's been breaking down now for the better part of a year, actually. So it's mainly pretty loose, but it's mainly completely composted. You can see it's a little dry, but we know that there is some nitrogen still in here, and we want to make sure we have a little bit of that down here to help give these new seeds a kickstart. We've got two piles of this, one that's much newer, and then this one that's a little bit older. We're gonna go ahead and get these on the ground, and then we're gonna go ahead and move wood chips on top of all of this. The only thing we have left to do is shore up the fencing a little bit, and then we do need to come back and water this in nice and heavy. Really looking forward to seeing how well these do. We know that the cowpeas and the sunflowers are doing good over there in that chicken area, and then I think the addition of the sorghum Sudan grass will be very interesting. One of the things we have not done is we haven't put Sudan grass into the ground and covered it with wood chips to give it kind of that perfect soil moisture and protection from the sun, just to see how well it can establish. So fingers crossed this one does well. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, hey, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. This is one of the many things that we cover here on the channel. And hey, share the content. If you know anybody that might be interested in something just like this or doing what we do here, this is definitely the right place for them. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave those in the comment section down below, and our Amazon shop. I'll leave a link down in the description. That is a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. Okay.
You gotta go forward and see if...
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably push it out. Life. No.
That's not happening, huh?
No. All right, the tractor mate. You have to pull this bad boy out.
That's funny.
Well, that's flat. Oh, goodness. There we go. That's on the blooper roll.
That's what we needed to do.
With everything? Congratulations! Oh, I got on me. I don't know how I do that all the time.
Did I throw it on you?
I don't know.